Hello, I'm Eric Hutchinson. I'm the principal broker and owner of Hutchinson Realty, and this is video 11 of the Negotiating Your Next Home video series. I hope you'll watch the other episodes in the video series, but today we're going to be talking about item number 23 on the Arkansas real estate contract. Item number 23 deals with possession. Now, possession is simply the time that the buyer actually takes possession of the property that they are purchasing. Now, most people think that that happens at closing, and most of the time it does. But if you are a renter and you purchase the property that you are renting, you already have possession. And then sometimes the seller wants to give possession of the property after they have closed and received their money. That's called delayed possession. And then sometimes the buyer actually wants to move into the property before they close on the property. That's called early occupancy. So we're going to be talking about these items today, but before we do, I want to tell you a story. So one of my agents about 3 years ago sold a property in Centerton. This property was almost a farm. It had 15 acres and a barn, and this lady was living there by herself, and she listed the property for $365,000. Not long after she had listed the property, a buyer came along to my agent, making him a dual agent, which we talked about in one of our previous videos. So go back and watch that. He was a dual agent representing both the buyer and the seller. And the buyer wanted to offer $345,000, $15,000 off the list price. So the agent presented the offer to the seller, and the seller was insulted. The seller said, I am not even going to respond. I'm just going to reject this offer. I'm not even going to counter. So the agent took the rejected offer back to the buyer and said, I'm sorry, the seller was insulted, did not like the fact that you were taking $15,000 off the purchase price and has rejected your offer. And the buyer said, you know what, let's resubmit the $345,000 offer. The agent said, are you sure you want to do that? Because the agent or the seller was not very happy. And the buyer said, yeah, let's go ahead and resubmit a $345,000 offer, but this time let's change the possession date. Because as I was walking through the property, the buyer said, I walked through the property and I noticed that she had a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. In fact, in the barn, the barn was packed full of furniture and debris and all kinds of things. And the buyer knew the seller was going to have to remove those items before closing. And so the buyer was really smart and said, you know what, let's offer her $345,000, but let's give her 2 months to get out of the property, 60 days. And so they did a delayed possession on the property. And so the agent took the offer back to the seller. And guess what? The seller took the deal. $15,000 item, possession date, 60 days after closing. So I tell you that story because it's really interesting, because sometimes sellers will be more negotiable on the purchase price if you find something that they want more than full price for the offer. This particular seller wanted time to move all of her stuff out or sell some of her property, and it was really important. So let me show you item number 23 on the Arkansas real estate contract. It's a really small paragraph. You can see possession of the property shall be delivered to buyer either upon closing, and that's the most popular, or delayed possession, which is what we just talked about, where the seller gets to stay in the property until after closing and some date after closing. And you determine that on that delayed occupancy addendum. And then the third option, item number C, is early occupancy, and there's an early occupancy addendum. Now, you need to understand that most sellers don't want the buyer to move in the property before closing, because if something happens and the deal goes south or doesn't happen and the buyer or the seller, either one, terminates, the buyer's in the property, and sometimes getting the buyer out of the property is difficult. But I will tell you, in this market that we're in right now, sometimes sellers want to have their money in hand before they give possession to the buyer. So sometimes they need time to get out. So if you're a buyer and you're looking for that thing that might cause the seller to consider your offer more than other offers that may be on the table, possession date may be the key to that. So talk to your realtor about that. Have your realtor call the listing agent, ask if the seller would like some time to get out of the property and get paid before they move their furniture out of the property. That may help you win the transaction. So just want to give you that advice and tell you that. So that's pretty much it for item number 23. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope that you guys will come back the next time whenever we talk about our next item on the Arkansas real estate contract. You can always reach out to me with your questions or comments at info@hutchrealty.com, or you can just comment on this video. Thank you again for watching. I'll talk to you soon.